What if I told you that most companies are getting employee engagement just completely wrong? Yeah. We're about to dive into a whole new mandate for HR, one that goes way, way beyond, pizza parties and perks. We're talking about creating workplaces where people don't just show up to work, they actually thrive. So let's get right into it.
Okay, so here's the thing. It's this massive paradox, right? And it's costing companies billions. I mean, billions. Companies are spending record amounts on employee engagement, but somehow people are more checked out than ever. If you look at the research from Gallup, it paints this really bleak picture, and it does it year after year. So, what is going on? What's the missing piece of this puzzle? And we're seeing this crisis play out in, well, two major ways. You've got the loud one, right? The Great Resignation. That's where people are just out. They're leaving in droves, looking for something better. But then you've got its quieter cousin, quiet quitting. This is more like a silent rebellion, where employees are just doing the absolute bare minimum to avoid burning out. They're two sides of the exact same coin, and really, both of them are pointing to a much, much deeper problem.
All right, so how in the world do we fix this? Well, the answer starts with a pretty radical idea. We have to completely rethink what purpose at work actually means. And trust me, it's probably not what you think it is. Okay, now this is where it gets really, really interesting. There was this groundbreaking study back in 2021, and it found that all the things we're told to chase, the fancy job titles, the prestige, even how big our paycheck is, get this, they have zero statistical link to an employee's sense of purpose. Zero. So what does matter? It's all about subjective success. It's about how you feel about your work day in and day out. It's about personal fulfillment, not just ticking boxes for professional achievement. I mean, think about that. This is a total game changer. What it means is that purpose isn't something reserved for the C-suite or the corner office. It's for everyone. Literally anyone in any role can find real meaning in their work, but only if they're given the chance to connect with what they do on a truly personal level. So, okay, that leads to a big question, right? If purpose is so deeply personal, how can a company even begin to cultivate it? Well, the answer is in this really powerful concept called job crafting, and it is all about empowering employees to take the wheel. The best way to think about job crafting is like getting a suit tailored. Instead of some one-size-fits-all job description that's handed down from on high, employees actually get to customize their roles. They can shape them to fit their own unique skills and passions. It's a total flip of the script. It's about making the job work for the person, not forcing the person to fit into the job. So how does this actually work in the real world? Well, it breaks down into three main parts. First, there's task crafting. That's basically just tweaking your responsibilities to play to your strengths. Then you have relational crafting. This is all about building better, more meaningful connections with the people you work with. And finally, and this one's huge, there's cognitive crafting. That's where you literally change how you think about the significance of your work. It's like a toolkit for building meaning right into your job. And this is just such a perfect example of that cognitive crafting in action. Think about it. A hospital cleaner. They're not just mopping floors. No, they're creating a healing environment for patients. They're a caregiver. The tasks are exactly the same, but the purpose, the meaning behind it, it's completely transformed. But here's the catch. Job crafting can't happen in a vacuum. It just can't. Companies have to do their part. They need to move away from these super rigid, old-school job descriptions and create what's called a job landscape. And the best way to picture this is like a sandbox. Instead of giving someone a narrow, predefined path to walk, you give them the freedom to explore, to build their own roles, all as long as it's helping the team hit its bigger goals. So yeah, job crafting is an incredibly powerful tool for employees, but it's the leaders who hold the key. They're the ones who can either unlock all that potential or, just keep it locked away. Their role here is absolutely 100% critical. So what's the secret sauce for the best leaders? It's pretty simple, actually. First, they make purpose personal. They connect the dots between the daily grind and a real human story. Second, they make it authentic. You just can't fake this stuff. People see right through it. And third, they make it perpetual. It's not a one-time speech. It's about constantly, routinely reminding their teams of the why behind the what. Let me give you a perfect real-world example of this. There is this team of engineers at Roche, and they were feeling totally undervalued, completely invisible. I mean, they were building these life-changing medical devices, but they felt like they were stuck in the shadows of the quote-unquote rock star chemists. And then their leader did something that changed literally everything. What did she do? She brought a patient right into their team meeting, a woman with diabetes who actually used one of the devices they had built. And this woman, she told them her story about how the daily finger pricking was so painful, so humiliating, that she had actually stopped going out with her friends. She was basically living in the shadows because of it. And then she held up her hands, which weren't red and swollen anymore, and she looked directly at these engineers and just said, "You people changed my life." Wow. I mean, in that one single moment, their work stopped being about circuits and code. It was about giving a person their life back. You can't put a price on that. Okay, so let's recap. We've got individual agency, right? That comes from job crafting. And we've got purposeful leadership, creating the right environment. So now let's pull all these threads together and define what this new mandate for HR really looks like.
But hang on, because there is a huge, crucial warning we need to talk about. Purpose can be a double-edged sword. Seriously, when a company starts using purpose as an excuse for long hours, toxic behavior, or low pay, it stops being purpose and it becomes a tool for exploitation. That's not inspiring, it's a trap.
So what's the antidote to that trap? It's something the International Labor Organization calls decent work. And this is the absolute bedrock of a healthy workplace. We're talking about the basics: fair pay, safe conditions, and just basic human dignity. This stuff isn't a perk. It is a fundamental right.
And here's where it all comes together. When you combine that incredible power of personal purpose with the foundational principles of decent work, well, you get something really transformative. We call it just meaning. And that's the new goal. It's not just about finding meaning in your work. It's about doing meaningful work in an environment that is just, that is fair, that is equitable.
So the big takeaway here is that this is not a one-person or even one-department job. It takes everyone. HR has to lay the foundation with fair policies. That's non-negotiable. Leadership's job is to bring that purpose to life, to make it real through stories and connection. And the entire organization has to build that flexible job landscape where people actually have the freedom to thrive. It's gotta be a team effort, top to bottom. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Is your organization just managing people? Or is it actively architecting a workplace where they can genuinely flourish? Because really, the entire future of work depends on how we answer that question.